Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from JennyCardDesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to be working on a project to create a 5x7 card. And to do that, I'm going to use my Jen-Velope template reference book. If you're new to my channel, let me explain to you what this book is. This book is one of a series of 5 books that I've developed to aid you in your crafting so that you don't have to figure out measurements and you can create card bases, envelopes, boxes, bags, tags, and so much more. So particularly the Jen-Velope template reference book is just regular envelopes. So let's take a peek in here. There's a list of all the different types of envelopes that I have, and across all of my books, they're color coordinated. So in other books where we have different types of envelopes or projects that are for A2, it will be the same color code, along with A7, mini slimline, and so on. You get the idea. So for today, I'm going to be creating an A7 envelope, or also known as a 5x7. So I'm just going to flip to that so I can show you what we're looking at here. So we're going to create this envelope out of a regular sheet of cardstock. Also on the second page of this template, we'll give you the measurements to create your 5x7 card base and also layers for your card fronts. In the back of this book, there is an envelope, and inside of this envelope, I keep all of my template samples. So when you purchase this book, this envelope is empty and you can fill it with whatever you like. So what I've done is color coordinated all of my envelopes to match the template in my book. For example, A8 envelope. This is an A8 business style envelope. I have 2 types of A8 envelopes. So this is a business style that opens like this, and then we also have a policy style which opens like this. So I keep these samples in the back of my book, and I also keep with it the card base that fits inside of it. And I've made the card base using my templates here. All right, so for today, as I mentioned, we're going to do A7. So here is my A7. Here is my A7 envelope. There's no card base in here. I must have used it at some point. So that's what we're making, and this is what our envelope will look like. So I'm just going to tuck all of these away. And I'm going to open my book up to my A7 templates. So this is what we're working with. And I'll just keep this off to the side here. First up, we are going to need a piece of paper that measures 8.5 by 11. So I've got 2 pieces of paper here. This is JennyCarddesigns powder blue. So I'm going to use 1 piece for my card base and 1 piece for my envelope. And these are 100-pound cardstock, really nice heavyweight cardstock. And we can create our envelope and our card base out of the same cardstock. I get this question quite often. I make all of my envelopes out of whatever paper I have available. It doesn't matter the thickness or how thick or thin it is. It works out just fine. So let's start by making the envelope. I have my scoreboard and a score tool, and I'm going to follow the template instructions. So it tells me my first step is to score across the 8.5-inch side and score at 1/2 inch and then 8 inches. So 8.5-inch side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch and then 8 inches. And then I'm going to score on the 11-inch side. So I'm going to rotate my paper. We'll score on the 11-inch side at 2 1/4 inches and 7.5 inches. So 2 1/4 and 7.5. Okay. So now looking at my template, it tells me to cut off the 4 corners. In my template guide, they're highlighted in dark green. So these are the 4 corners that we're going to cut off on this piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to follow along the score line. and cut that piece away, and I'm going to do the same thing on all 4 sides. Okay, after cutting, this is what we should have. And I always save these little scraps because typically I cut them up into almost like the size of foam squares. And I adhere them together and stack them up and make my own little dimensionals. This way this cardstock doesn't go to waste. And then I also don't have to worry about buying foam squares. And it's just a neat little way to use up some of your scraps. The next step in our template is to cut off these little corners. So there's these little triangles that we need to cut out of each corner on these flaps. This just helps the envelope fold together nicely. So I'm just going to come in and cut just a little bit away. It's just like notching it or something so it doesn't interfere. So I'm going to do the same thing to all 4 sides. And I'm just eyeballing here. I'm not worrying if it's perfect. It's not really going to be very noticeable. It's just to help to fold everything together nicely. Okay. Okay, the next step is to crease all of the score marks. So I have my bone folder here, and I'm going to crease all of the folds on this envelope. Okay. And now you'll notice we have a larger flap and a smaller flap. The larger flap we're going to fold up and we're going to adhere down, and the smaller flap is going to be how we close our envelope. So we're going to apply adhesive on the sides of the larger flap. I'm just going to use my dot runner for this. Apply adhesive right on the edge, and then fold it up and use my bone folder to burnish in that adhesive. And there we go, the envelope is complete. When you're ready to mail this envelope, you can apply some double-sided tape here to close it, or glue stick, whatever you prefer. You can also take this up a notch and insert an envelope liner to make it look pretty. You can round the corners. You can trim the corners, and in fact, I might do that. I might just come in and trim just a little bit of an angle. So it's just a little sliver, and I'm cutting on an angle. And then when we close, just kind of looks a little bit more interesting. Okay, so envelope is complete. We'll set that aside. And then we're going to move over to the card base. So I'm going to flip the page in my template book. And it tells me I need a piece of paper that's 8.5 by 11 inches. Okay, so let's start there, and we're going to be cutting. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. So I've got my 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. On the 11-inch side, we're going to cut it down to 10 inches. So that's going to be my first step. We'll start there. On the 11-inch side, we're going to cut down to 10 inches. And whenever I'm using my trimmer, I like to bring the blade down and cut up. This way, any pressure that I apply pushes my paper up along the little guideline there, and then it makes sure that I get my cuts nice and straight. So that's just a little tip for you there. So I'll line this up to 10 inches and cut. And then you can save this to create the little dimensionals, as I mentioned previously, or you can use this to put a sentiment strip on, and so on. You can use this for a lot of different things. So we won't throw this away. Now going back to my template guide, it tells me across the 8.5-inch side, I need to cut to 7 inches. Okay, so across the 8.5-inch side, this is the 8.5-inch side, we're going to cut this down to 7 inches, and I'll bring my blade down and push up to the top. Again, don't throw these away. These are great pieces to use. Okay, now we have a piece that measures 10 by 7 inches. Okay, and now we're going to score to create our card base. So I'll grab my scoreboard, and my template tells me that we need to score across the 10-inch side and score at 5 inches. Okay, so then that's going to be it for the template. I'm not going to worry about the layers or anything today. If you're interested in the book, you can purchase it and layer away on your cards, but I'm not going to worry about this right now. So I'll set that book aside, and I'm going to score my card base across the 10-inch side, score at 5 inches. We may very well need to come back to the layers guide if we want to add a piece of paper on the inside so that we have a spot to write or stamp a message. We'll see when we get to that later. So I've got this scored. Now I'm just going to crease my fold and burnish with my bone holder to make sure I get a nice sharp crease. And there we go. We have a 5x7 card base and coordinating envelope ready to go. So whenever I don't have any inspiration or I'm not sure what to do, I like to go to my template books and create card bases and envelopes. 5x7 cards are my most favorite card to make. So when I'm bored and I have nothing to do and I have no crafty ideas, I go and create card bases and envelopes. I go through my stash and I pick out some of my cardstock and create beautiful rainbows of envelopes and card bases. And I always make the card base match the envelope. You don't have to do this. You can definitely use a regular white envelope, but I just like to do this. So I have all of these envelopes stashed away in my drawer, ready to create some beautiful card projects. So I'm going to set these aside because we're not going to need these anymore for now. We're going to work on creating a card. I'm going to start with this Gina K Designs stamp set. This is the Gina K Designs, I'm not sure what it's called. Let's take a look. This is the Gina K Layered Carnation. I'm not sure why this isn't labeled anywhere. But it came in this watercolor spring card kit. That must have been why I kept the paper, because it has the name of the stamp set. And it came with all these fun things and this set of ink cubes and ephemera and papers and things like that. Yesterday I was just playing around in my craft room and playing with these carnations, and I thought these are just absolutely beautiful. I'm going to create a lovely card with these stamps, and then I'm also going to use this Kathy Zielski Be Kind die. And what I like about this is that it has the shadow layer as well as the word be kind. So we're going to create something fun with that to make a nice embellishment for the front of our card. So we'll come to that later, and let's work on stamping this layered carnation. So I had played around yesterday and stamped this carnation and the leaves, and they're beautiful. And these are the ink colors that came with that set, and I just have them here. This is the Gina K Designs Spruce and Carnation, and you have the light, medium, and dark of both colors. And for today's video, I felt like I'm going to try something different. I do like this color combination, but I don't think it's going to match very well with, well, maybe it might. I'm not sure. I'm going to take a look at what inks I do have and see if I have something that might inspire me a little bit more, or maybe we'll just go with these. Let's take a look and see. I have some nice Alt New layered inks. These are some really pretty colors. I'm almost leaning towards the blues. I think that would look nice. We've got this Arctic, Caribbean Sky, and Sapphire. I think we might go with these ones. And I'm just going to swatch on this piece of paper. So we have, that's really light. So we have a light, we have a medium, we have a dark, and we have the darkest. I'm thinking I'll go with these three, but that's really, I don't know about this one. You know what, let's go with these three. I'll stamp this one a couple of times. So I'm going to put the Sapphire back. We're not going to use that one. And I think I'm going to stick with the Gina K Designs Spruce for the leaves. So I'm going to go back and grab those. All right, so we have our palette selected. We have the stamps that we want to use. And now we're going to get to stamping some of these images. In order to do that, I'm going to use my Misti stamping tool. This is the mini Misti. This is the original mini Misti. I keep meaning to pick up the new ones, but there's just always something else that catches my eye and eats away my crafty budget. So this one still works for now, and we're just going to go with it. So I've got my mini Misti mouse pad inside of there. And I'm going to grab a piece of cardstock, pop this into my Misti. What I might do is just add a little bit of adhesive so that my paper won't move around when I go to stamp my layered images. So make sure that's nice and tight up in the corner there. And then we're going to start with the first image. Okay. And then I'm also going to do the leaves at the same time. So I'm going to put those there. All right, I'm going to close the door of my Misti, pick up my stamps. Make sure this is nice and tight up into the corner here. For my carnation, we're going to start with the Arctic ink. And like I said, I'm probably going to have to stamp this a couple of times. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, we'll stamp it once more. That's nice. And then for the green, we're going to go with the light spruce. Okay, looks good. I'm going to flip it around and repeat so that I get two of the same flower and two of the same leaf on the same cardstock. All right, there we go. I'm going to grab my tidy towel here and clean up these stamps and move into the next image. So for the second image, we'll use, so just get that lined up on top of that stamp. This is a very forgiving stamp set, so it doesn't have to be perfect. The results are going to be beautiful whether you get it straight perfect or not. And then these little leaves are so simple to line up. You just pop those on and have the bases of each of the leaves kind of line up with the leaves that are stamped. And there we go. So now we're going to go to the medium color. We're going to use medium spruce and Caribbean sky. So we'll start with medium spruce here. And then the Caribbean sky. We'll close the door of the Misti and press. Here's a good time to use a pressure tool if you have one. Sometimes I forget about mine, but I just picked up something new. I picked this up from the automotive section at Walmart, and I thought this was kind of neat. I've never used it before, so I'm going to try it today. So basically you have these little applicator pads. They're little sponges for cleaning and things like that. I picked it up for $4 at Walmart. It was kind of neat, so I thought I'd try it out. And you just, it's got like a little Velcro sort of, and you stick it on to this little pad, and you can buff out stuff on your car. But I think this gives you a nice opportunity to put pressure on your Misti door, and for the price point, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so there we go. That looks good. Now I'm going to turn my paper around, pop that into the corner, and ink up my stamps one more time. This is a great little tool. I like that it just glides across the Misti very easily. There we go. All right. And we'll move to the final layering image, which is going to be these fine lines. And we'll just line those up here. Just following the registration marks, trying to get it as best as I can. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. The stamp is very forgiving. I can't quite tell where this is supposed to go, so sometimes you have to get your head right over top of that stamp so that you can see what you're doing. There we go. And then for the leaves, we have this little stem here, and that is just going to line up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get each branch to touch each leaf, and then I know it's in a good spot. And then we're going to use our darkest colors for these. I've got dark spruce for the little twig or branch. And then Parisian blue for the final layer on that carnation. Look at that. That's beautiful. That color really pulls everything together. I really love that. I'm glad we went with this color combination. All right, so let's do the rest. Our flowers are all done. Just clean up these stamps. There are some other elements in this set where you can stamp little buds and things. So I think we can do that one by hand. I'll try to do that with an acrylic block. I just have a little acrylic block here. I'm going to take that little twig and I'm going to stamp it with the dark spruce ink. And I think I'll do that a couple of times. I'll do 2 on each page. There's enough room here. Okay. And now we'll go to the next part of that stamp, and this is sort of like the little base of the flower, so we're going to do that in the medium tone. So this is medium spruce, and I just want to line up those dots on all of those little branches, and you can just kind of look right through the stamp to make sure you're in the right spot. There we go. And then we'll go to the buds of the flowers. That's the last stamp for this. And we'll go with that mid-tone. Actually, you know what? I think I like that Parisian blue. I really want those to pop. So we'll start with those guys. These are so easy to line up and they're super cute. There we go. Alright, so we have all of our images stamped. Now it's time to die cut them out. So I have the dies that coordinate with the stamp set, and we're just going to get those situated. And I can cut all 3 pieces at once. Okay, now let's work on bringing all of these elements together into a card. So I have my card base here. And I think I'd like this to be a landscape style card. And I kind of really want this to be the center focus. So I think I'll put a white piece of cardstock in behind as a layer. So I have a white piece of cardstock and I'm going to cut a layer to fit on the front. So here is where my layers guide might come in handy. So this, to have a 1/4 inch border all the way around, we need a piece that measures 4 3/4 by 6 1/2. To have a piece that's 1/2 inch all the way around, 3/4, and so on and so on. So I think I want a nice border around. I think I'm going to go with 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to start by cutting 4 1/4. And 6 1/4. Let's see what that looks on the front of our card. Yep, that's perfect. I like that. So let's adhere that down. Okay, so we can just kind of figure out how we want to do this. How we want our flowers to be laid. Maybe if I started with a carnation and a leaf. And what about just for interest? I don't know if I like this. I think we switch gears. And maybe one more this way. Yeah, I like that. Let's work with this. All right, so I'm going to start by getting this adhered down first. Next thing we're going to do, I think we'll start by popping up these flowers. And I'll use these little scrappy guys. As dimension. It gives us a nice lift with it's not too high, but it gives us some of that dimension that we're looking for. There we go. How's that? Isn't that pretty? That's absolutely gorgeous. So what you can do, because we have a few little pieces left over, let's cut a piece for the inside of the card. It's a nice space to write a personal message or a greeting, whatever you want to put. And let's take one of these little carnations, add a nice little touch to the inside of our card by adding one of those guys in there. That's really pretty. And we can also add one of the little branches coming in off the top. That's kind of cute. There we go. Now if you wanted to, you could add some embellishments, some rhinestones or sequins, whatever you want. And then I've also got a couple of pieces left that I can put on the front of the envelope or on the flap of the envelope, whatever you want to do. I think I'm going to put it in the bottom corner here. I would have liked to have a couple of leaves for here, but that's okay. I don't want to go back and stamp anymore. I'm done for this card. We'll just pop these little blooms over here. That looks weird. Let's go to the top corner. Just to give it that offset look. There we go. This card project is complete. We've got some beautiful embellishment dimension on there. It will fit perfectly inside of our handmade envelope. And there we go. Be kind. Here's a close-up look at our finished card project. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. Don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed the content that you've seen here today, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you join along my paper crafting journey. Coming up on screen is some more inspiration for card making projects that I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!